know, just what does it mean for you to be here to encourage everybody to get out and register to vote?
It means a lot to me to see that I have a platform and that people are tuned in and they're listening. It means the world.
Have you voted before?
I have not, so this will be my first time voting. The last election, I think I was just turning 18 or just turned 18. And to be honest, to be frank, I didn't really know too much about voting. I didn't know how simple it was. It just seemed like, a thing that older people did. And, I just want to encourage people who just become of age and who around my age to get out there and vote. It really matters.
As a first-generation American, what does it mean for you to be able to vote this year?
It means the world, because I know, how hard my parents fought to be in this country, and I know how it is in other countries, so it means the world.
What's your message to people who are on the fence about whether they're going to vote or not?
My message is simple, is to get out there and vote. To get out there, educate yourself and vote. Oftentimes people ask me, who are you voting for, or are you pushing, for one person or another, and I tell them that my message isn't necessarily who to vote for, but it's just to get out there and vote.
You said at the last press conference that when you were a kid, you learned about the importance of voting during school elections and stuff like that. What do you remember from those earliest memories?
It was all just like class president type stuff. It was never really focused around, actual elections. It was never a thing where it was like, all right, I'm excited to turn 18 so I can vote. But I've learned pretty much the basics of any type of democracy, whether it was class president or, you're voting for a government official.
So when people come here to vote, register, what's going to be your involvement with the community?
Anything and everything. I'm going to remain open-minded, whether if it's, as little as, mopping the floor or making sure everyone's staying social distancing, or if it's actually helping people go through the process of how to vote while they're here.
I'm sorry,
No, go
you've
for it.
already answered this. It's hard to hear. Why was it so important to you to see this happen here at the Amway Center? Why here?
Yeah, it just goes back to the platform that we have and how I can help the community as much as possible. I didn't necessarily feel obligated to do it. It's something that I wanted to do, and I'm happy that the initiative started, and I'm happy that we got the okay.
This is something that you pushed for. I think, what was it, in June? What kind of was the catalyst behind that?
Yeah, well, I think it was like mid to late May. I saw that the Bucks were opening up their facility to become a voting station, and then after that, I just kind of have been inspired since, and we've been doing things to get this really rolling.
Mo, to have the organization behind you, where your head coach is out here along with you, the organization's opening up the building along with the city. What does it mean to kind of have that unified approach as you go through this process?
Yeah, it shows that the message is clear. We want people to get out there and vote. It shows how we're all on the same level and we all want the same thing.
Obviously, a lot of kind of the early messaging and certainly a lot of stuff happened inside the NBA campus while you guys were playing. What have you noticed about how the message that the players have been saying throughout the resuming season?
Yeah, I noticed that there was a lot of frustration, and necessarily there wasn't really much answers to solutions. And I realized that decisions aren't really made. Decisions aren't great when they're made based off of frustration. When you have time to debrief and really go over things, I think you tend to end up with a better solution. This is one of many solutions. I'm not to say that this is the best solution, but I think this is one of the bigger ones.
Do you feel the impact of kind of the messaging that's been going on inside the campus now that you're outside, able to get back out in the community?
Yes and no, because while we were there, we saw another police shooting, but I think the awareness is at an all-time high. Now it's just a matter of making these solutions work.
When you look at voting is a complicated thing, and a lot of people don't vote because they don't have a way to register or they don't understand what they have to do to vote. So the more things that we can do like this to make it easier for even a few people to register, it's a big deal.
So the community, when they come here to register, what is the involvement with Orlando Magic, with you, with Wamba, specifically with the people that come here?
I think just to make sure that that they're able to register, and that they understand then like what the next step will be. I'm sorry, so that they have clarity about what they would have to do so that they can come in and vote and make their vote count.
What's your message to people who are on the fence about whether they're going to vote or not?
Oh, I think it's your, it's your right. You could say it's your responsibility. I don't think you can tell people what to do, but obviously, I would say this: if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. We need to make changes in our country about all these things we've been talking about, so there's more equality, in all areas. To me, from education reform to economic reform to police accountability, and there's so many things that we can do. Racism in general, we can talk about it. All of those conversations are healthy, but the way that you make change is you change laws, you change policies, and the way you do that is you make decisions about the people who are making the laws, who are making the policies, and voting is the one way that we can all do that. That's how we can everybody can impact the way we live and play a part in positive change if you vote.
Mo is about to vote for the first time in his life. What impact has the last few months made on your team? Do you think there's going to be some first-time voters besides Mo on your team?
I think across our whole league, the night in the bubble when you had the meeting that I think everybody knows about with all of the players and all of the coaches, Doc Rivers gave a powerful speech to everyone and explained to the players that in 2016, I think only 21% of our players voted. And, we're in a different place now, but I know that since then, registration on NBA rosters is now sky high, and I would dare to say that a much larger percentage of our league will vote this time.
What kind of an impact can having, the organization, the franchise, a team that represents the city, what kind of impact can you guys have to drive people out to vote, to learn about how to vote and all that?
Well, I think in my opinion, the two biggest things we can do is one, open up the arena. I think that the way the city and the county have worked together with the Magic and Alex and Jeff and obviously the DeVos family to open up our arena for early voting is the number one thing. In our league, all 30 teams tried hard to open up their arenas. For some, it's easier than others because they own the arena. And this, we're fortunate in that we have such good relations with people in the city and the county, so we were able to do that. And then the other part is, I think, is just social media. The Magic, obviously, with all aspects of social media, I think we have over 5 million followers total. And then if you look at many of our players, Mo being one of them, they also have ways through social media to make people more aware of voting. So I would say those would be the two biggest ways.
There's obviously a lot of messaging inside of the bubble and inside the campus about social justice causes, about getting out and voting. Now that you're outside of the bubble, you've been out for a while. What kind of impact do you see those messages having out in the community at large?
Oh, I think it's played a part in keeping the conversation going, making awareness, stronger across the country. I think if you look at all the sporting events, the WNBA, what the NFL players are doing, people are doing it in different ways, but it's important because, to get the kind of positive, sustainable change that hopefully everybody wants, it's not going to happen overnight, and it starts with getting the right people in charge, and not just nationally, it's statewide, it's locally. And I think that's one of the things that we all have to do, all of us, is educate ourselves on local politicians so that we know, from every local office, who are the best people for you, for what you want, for what you see your country and what they stand for, all the way, obviously, statewide and federally. And again, there's nothing more important than educating yourself about who the candidates are, what they stand for, and what they'll do if we vote them into office.
How proud are you of Mo and all the other players that are taking so much action to be involved in this year's election and other things as well?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, you know, Mo with the voting piece, Michael Carter-Williams with the police accountability piece. We have a number of other guys who are, I think, ready to get into the community and help with education reform. We've had a lot of talks about that as a group. Right now, unfortunately, the pandemic, you know, is you know, slowing that down, you know, with everything, the issues obviously with your kids going to school and a lot of things that we could do locally here in the communities. We're doing some of it, but not nearly at the scale that we will once things get more back to normal.
So if we know you've worked with Desmond over the course of this and you've been part of social justice task force, just how enlightening has that process been and just how much of a continued effort is it?
Oh, it's been incredibly educational for me, and I think that, you know, that's where it starts for all of us. You know, with our NBA Coaches for Racial Justice, you know, task force, you know, I've told you before, we work with Brian Stevenson. You know, he's our consultant, and the one thing that he has said from the beginning is, educate yourselves. You guys are coaches. You're not politicians. You're not activists. Educate your players. Make sure they understand more about where the systems are at and how systems can be changed. And you do that by working with the experts. And the experts in every city, in all 30 cities, they're the people in the grassroots organization. You know, I spent a day with Desmond and Sheena, his wife Sheena, and, you know, Neil a couple weeks ago. Just, they call it a day of giving, you know, where they just, you know, went to different places and give out masks and make contributions and things like that. And it's eye-opening. You know, I just met the other day with one of the other guys that will be working here with the Magic, that we've met with Linda Lehman-Gonzalez and myself, Miles Moraine, through an organization called Let Your Voice Be Heard. And the people are amazing because Desmond, Miles, and there's many other people in our area here, they dedicate their lives to helping other people.